Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are, or good evening. Yeah, so I have an interesting video today. I watched this reel on Instagram a few days ago when I was doom scrolling, and it was talking about the capacity for you to love. I'm going to try and stitch it in before I start talking about it, because I think it's valuable. And I've also linked the creator's Instagram @ in the description. And if I can find it, I'll find the original video's link as well. I'll put all of their information in the description. So check her out. Her content is really valuable. I'll be posting hopefully another video soon, based on another video she posted. And the reason why I'm deciding to share this, it's because I just watched this video and I reflected on it. And I came to a realization that, to me, it didn't happen before. And I think this is valuable because I think there are other people out there like me. I tend to rationalize very much. And I'm trying to move from a place of rationalizing my emotions and experiences to a place of feeling my emotions and experiences. Because I learned that for me to grow, I need to trigger those emotions, I need to reflect on them, and I need to process them so I can let go. So I'll be also posting a video on the importance of healing, where I'll be talking about why it is important to heal. I'll be thinking about it in a critical way as well, so I won't only be, kissing ass in a way. There are a few downsides and a few scary bits to healing, but I'll leave it for that video, which is coming up next. So yeah, I'm gonna stitch the video in here, and I'll start with my notes, because I did a bit of a reflection, just some points to get me going and talking. So yeah, enjoy.
Okay, it's the bubble bursting extraordinaire here for the burstiest bubble of all time. When you thought you were falling deeply in love with another person, when you felt that feeling, that high, that free fall into a wonderful abyss, what you were really falling in love with is your own capacity to love, your own capacity to completely let go of all sense of separation. You were falling in love with how good it feels to be unconditionally loving. The object of your affection was just a permission slip to feel this. You can feel this at any time. The problem, and the only problem with seeking this or thinking that this only exists within the context of a romantic relationship, the only problem comes when you don't have the awareness that you don't have to take what the other person does or says about the love that you're giving personally at all. You fell in love with your own capacity unknowingly, and when another person maybe can't meet that, or it goes sour for some reason, you might think that it's actually saying something about your love, but actually all it's saying is about that other person's capacity to meet your capacity. That's it. So falling in love can be a singular experience. You can feel that, in fact, for absolutely anything around you. It's actually just the feeling of letting go entirely. It's the feeling of being 100% vulnerable. It feels that good to not have any defenses up.
Okay, so after watching the video, feel free to check out her channel, her Instagram page again, or scroll back at any point, or have it open on another tab, or on your phone if you're watching this on a computer, because I found it valuable to rewatch it, and I rewatched it prior to recording this video as well, just to refresh and get these points down so I could make it a bit more structured. Because one thing I realized is the last video essay I posted was not as structured. Anyway, I digress. So in the video, this lady talks about about falling in love, that feeling of falling in love. And she mentions it is actually falling into the capacity of your own love. And that got me thinking, that's interesting because, there's that saying that goes, you can only know people to the depths that you know yourself. That means if you are healing through your trauma, if you're healing through the issues that have gone on in your life, or, even physical healing, any type of healing really, you're going to recognize your own emotions and your own thoughts and feelings on a deeper level. And that allows you to empathize, to sympathize, and to be able to care for others on the same level that you showed yourself care. In other ways, when you care for yourself, you show yourself love. So if you're on a healing journey of any way, you're already showing yourself love and compassion. So make sure you take it easy. So that phrase, you know others to the extent that you know yourself, can also be applied to love. And this is, I think, where her video links in with this saying. And this is what connected in my mind. So if you substitute it for love, you love others to the extent you love yourself. And that hit me a bit hard because I didn't see myself as loving myself. Even though I am on a healing journey, even though I am working through some wounds and traumas from my childhood, from my adolescent years, and from my early adulthood years. So the question popped into my mind, how can it be so hard for me to feel like I'm loving myself? And there are many factors, like I just said. For me, in my case, it's worthiness wounds, it's childhood trauma, abandonment wounds, and everything kind of compounds on each other. One thing from my training as a counselor that I've learned is the importance of looking back at your past, because your past is always with you. It informs your present and potentially your future, depending what roads you decide to take. So I would say I'm person-centered, really, but I do really find a lot of value in the psychodynamic approach. And if you don't know these terms, maybe you've heard of Maslow for person-centered, Abraham Maslow, or you've heard of Freud for the psychodynamic aspect. Sigmund Freud placed a very big emphasis on the childhood portion of somebody's life. And lots of psychotherapy actually is involved in taking you back to that moment, to that place, and working through those thoughts and feelings. So what happens is when you have an experience in your childhood, and this can be at any age really, it depends on how you are parented by your parents. This could be at any age, when you're months, a few years old, or a couple of years old even. Childhood goes up to about 10, 11, 12 years old. And that is a crucial moment in your brain's development where you're learning new things, where you're learning how to be human. You're learning how to balance yourself and your needs with who you want to be, who you're becoming, and who you're being taught to become in your household, in your school environment, in your larger society, your neighborhood, in your extended family. Okay, so every experience you have creates these schemas. And you can think of a schema as like my glasses, different lenses through which we see life through. And because we are young and impressionable and we're learning, and our brain is developing so quickly at a young age, we take those things as truths. We take those things to our core. And these schemas, these views, they generate certain beliefs. Now, because of my abandonment wound, I became a people pleaser. And becoming a people pleaser it didn't allow me to do anything. If anything, it allowed me to give my power away to others in the fear that they would abandon me. So I would people please, and I would give my power away in the sense that I wouldn't do the things that mattered to me. I wouldn't do the things that were important to me. I wouldn't nurture myself. I would be too concerned in nurturing others so I wouldn't lose the people around me, because I thought that love and affection and care all came from the outside. And that was what I learned in my childhood. You know, I was really dependent. I wasn't taught to love myself, to accept myself, to be myself from a young age. But that's not a problem either, because the same way you can love others to the capacity that you love yourself, you don't know what individual needs are. And that's why I think parenting is really hard and shouldn't be really controlling, in which my case sometimes it was quite smothering. So this is just an example of how my childhood created a schema, like this lens that I saw the world through, that created these beliefs that I can't love myself, or I don't know how to love myself, which is what I said in the beginning of the video. You know, the whole idea of, well, how can I show myself that love if I'm loving that person to the same extent? How can I love myself? Okay, I hope I'm making sense. I'm just talking as the information comes out. So childhood wounds and trauma, in my case, informed schemas, which informed my beliefs. Okay, and then the question came up: how do I love myself? And at a certain point of the video, I think it's at, because I watched it earlier, I'd say it's about 1 minute mark, 1 minute and 5 seconds. She starts talking about, this is a paraphrase, if relationships go sour, it says more about their capacity to meet your love than your capacity to give. And that was really a really insightful thing. I reflected on that a lot. And the reason I reflected a lot on it was two reasons, actually. I'm at a stage in my healing where I'm hermiting, in a way. You know, I am very much taking time for myself. I'm reflecting on my past and my life. And it feels very lonely, even though I do have friends and colleagues and support and a therapist and everything. I have support. I have a social life. But it is so much more restricted now, because I am doing so much internal, emotional, and mental work. It is really draining, and alongside the current masters I'm doing as well, it is a lot for me to heal and to be doing a master's in counseling. But it's part of the job. You know, it's part of the job. But it's only ethical. Sorry, I went on a massive tangent there, and I forgot. Okay, talking about your capacity to give, the reasons why. Okay, I'll just go back. I'll just. Yeah, I love my tangents, but they make sense, but I get lost. I should have written down where I stopped, right? Okay, so healing, how do I love myself? Oh yes, I was talking about when relationships go sour, it's about them not being able to meet your capacity to love. And then the 2 points. Okay, first of all, that got me reflecting, because I'm currently healing through my own stuff. So I feel very much alone and lonely. It is a journey that I have to go on myself, on my own. I can have support and have people around me, but it's something that I should do on my own. You know, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can explain something to someone, but you can't understand it for them. So I've had things explained to me, I'm explaining things to myself, and now I'm understanding and integrating these different parts of myself, of my past and of my present. So I'm just joining everything up. And the healing journey feels really lonely, and that also triggers my abandonment wounds in a way, which I find to be quite ironic, but also valuable. It gives it so much space for reflection. And because I believed that I had to love people to keep them close, or the only way for me to receive love was to treat people well, which is not necessarily always the case. You can treat people well and people will still be conniving bitches and backstab you for whatever reason. I don't understand, and I can only empathize. I think conniving bitches was a bit strong term, but it's how I feel in a way. It's things that I'm currently processing through from my recent experience in the past couple of years. But anyways, I digress again. I've always been able to be really loving and caring towards others. And going back to that phrase, you can only love to the extent that you love yourself. And that kind of got me thinking, like, how do I love myself? How do I feel like I'm loving myself? What should I do? What are the steps that I should take? How should I think? How should I behave or act? What are the kind of things that I do? And because I'm feeling like this is a lonely process, and because of this lonely process, I don't have many people around me right now, and because I'm reframing and changing my perspective on what is love and what is acceptance, and all of these other thoughts and schemas and worldviews, I don't really feel like I have someone that I love in my life right now. And that can be maybe something really sad to hear, but I think it's only a temporary part of this journey because, I'm currently working through childhood wounds, which involve both of my parents. I'm at a stage emotionally right now and mentally where I can't think or feel the same amount of love that I used to feel when I was younger, or when I was in a relationship, for example. So that got me thinking then, my past relationship went sour for XYZ reasons, but I did love that person. Very much so. Very much so. I did love that person. And so what can I bring back from that relationship? What that relationship taught me was I can only love them to the extent I love myself. And the relationship ended because we couldn't always meet each other's love. There are so many aspects, such as love languages as well, which was something I wasn't aware of in the past, which maybe contributed to it. But I digress. It's all a part of the experience that I'm trying to relate to and communicate to you. So how can I love myself if I know I can love others from a fear of losing them? But I did so much for others and not much for myself during this time. And one thing that I found really valuable for my therapy was my therapist told me we were breaking off for one of the holidays. I don't remember. I think it was summer. This was a few years back. And my therapist told me, if you're ever in a spot where you don't know what to do, think, what would I say? So what would Lucas's therapist say? Or what would Lucas's therapist do? And that was really valuable for me. So I kind of reframed that to apply self-love, to start applying love for myself. And the way I did that was, since I don't have anybody in my life in the present that I feel like I truly love, I'm taking myself back to previous moments in my life where I remember that I could express and feel that love truly. So I remembered about my ex-partner and about the experiences we had and about the unconditional love that I was able to pour into her. And it was truly unconditional love. Like, she flourished. She completely flourished. And It was a beautiful thing to see, you know, and that is proof that I can offer it. And if I can offer it to her, I can offer it to myself. So the question I asked myself is, what would Lucas do? What would Lucas say if she was thinking or feeling or behaving a certain way out of a place of care, out of a place of love for that person? For example, sometimes I look at my body and I'm not happy with it because I used to be much more fit and much more muscly and defined than I currently am. And lots has changed for me hormonally. I've been on medication which affected my antidepressant medication, which affected my weight. Plus the depression itself. One of my coping mechanisms was eating good food. So yeah, you know, I've instead of dealing with my emotions, I would stuff them down, and yeah, you know. So for example, I'm not happy sometimes with my body, but instead of thinking or feeling that way in the mirror, I now catch that thought, and I'm like, no, you actually look good. You're healthy. You're not overweight. You're not eating unhealthily. You're not, you know, it's about justifying to yourself from a place of love and care. Obviously, my appearance is one aspect of it. There are so many other situations in which I feel guilty. For example, I know smoking cigarettes is bad for you, and I still do it. You know, it is a coping mechanism. It is serving a purpose right now that I'm not sure what purpose it's serving, and I feel confident it will come to me because I'm holding that awareness and I'm holding that that curiosity, that reflectiveness. So I'm not worried about it. But every time I smoke, I do feel guilty because it is unhealthy, and I'm not helping my body in its own physical healing either. And instead of being really critical of myself, I'm now being more compassionate, more empathetic and understanding. I'm offering myself unconditional positive regard. And unconditional positive regard is a term from person-centered counseling, person-centered psychology, humanistic psychology, and person-centered counseling, where you offer a space to that person without judgment. So whatever somebody brings you or whatever you're bringing out, whatever you're reflecting on, be gentle with yourself, be compassionate, you know. Compassion is also not about making excuses for yourself. It's about genuinely holding and understanding yourself and where you're currently at. And that helps alleviate the tension and the stress of the whole process of healing. So this whole video, it got me thinking on how do I love myself. So to reiterate what I said previously, what I said basically just now, is think of somebody that you love, and if you don't have anybody you feel, anyways, think of somebody that you love, and if you feel like you don't have anybody in your life currently that you love, think of a friend, of an ex-partner, of a family member, somebody that you truly loved and that you felt that care and compassion and empathy for, and put yourself, let's do a 2-chair work, okay? Put yourself in their place, and what would you say to yourself in a loving way if they were if they were in your situation? Do you get me? Is that making sense? It makes sense in my mind, but I'm also quite experienced in doing this. If you're curious about what I said just now, 2-chair work, that is from Gestalt therapy. And if I'm not mistaken, because It's been a while. It's been a while. But Gestalt therapy, Gestalt means the whole, so holding the whole of the person. But two-chair means you're working with different parts of yourself, or you're kind of splitting yourself to be able to work with those different parts. I wouldn't suggest you do this on your own unless you know what you're doing. But to the extent and depth, for anything, this question that I'm asking right now, what would I do if my friend was in that situation? That is kind of two-chair work, but it's not to the depth that you would do maybe in a therapy room. Okay, so make sure if you're doing something that is really triggering, that you have support around you, that you have people who are even trained to be able to support and hold a space for you. Even if you do it on your own time, and then you go to a counselor, but make sure you have somebody there that understands the process, that understands the emotions, somebody who's there to listen and to hold that space for you, okay? But that is on the case of really triggering and deep things. It's not for this case, okay? For this case, you're just asking yourself, what would I say to my friend? What would I say to my family member, my partner? What would I say to my loved one if they were in the situation that I'm in? And that's going to result in some valuable stuff. Make sure there's compassion in there, okay? Compassion is about holding that space. And that holding a space is something mental and emotional. It means just sitting with your emotions and your thoughts. Acknowledge them. They are real. They're there. They're there for a reason, okay? And they won't go away, So might as well be like, okay, I see you. I feel you. Hold that space. For example, with the smoking, Lucas, it's okay that you're smoking. There might be a reason that you're smoking. You might just be addicted, and that's okay. But you might not be addicted, and this is a coping mechanism for something else that you haven't resolved. Or this whole chat about a coping mechanism could be complete bullshit, but that's fine. That's compassion. It's okay. It's where you're at. Because in the future, you don't want to be smoking. You don't want to be a smoker in the future. Okay? That is compassion. That is carrying those emotions from the past and the present and holding them as you go into the future. Does that make sense? And with loving yourself, that is one aspect of loving yourself. For me, self-love is taking care of my body, is taking care of my mind, is taking care of my soul, my emotions. And I'm talking just about the physical aspect here, okay? We can generalize this to emotions as well. We can generalize this to mental thought processes. But then again, that caveat comes in. If you're dealing with something that can be potentially really triggering, or that you feel a bit scared of delving into, and you don't feel like you have the tools for self-reflection, the tools for understanding and naming those emotions and feelings, then it would be really useful to get appropriate help through a counselor. Yeah, that's basically the video. Yeah, I was going to end the video there, and then start talking about counseling. But then my video got cut off because my memory was full, because I'm recording in 4K. Yeah, that was just a big chunk of about half an hour that was lost, but it was for good reason. This video ran its course. But yeah, thank you for watching. It is an honor to be able to have that have this space to talk about my experience, to talk about my feelings and my thoughts. And, the reason for me to record this is as a self-reflection thing for reference, future reference. It's kind of an online journal, but the main reason for me to record this is for me to be able to rationalize everything that I'm going through, all of the processes, because understanding it mentally is the best way to explain it. And because I am experiencing and have experienced these things, if I'm able to bring it up from the heart space up to the mental and communicate it in a clear way, I can potentially teach this strategy or these things to others. And I'm not saying this from any place of teaching, from any place of authority or power, and that's something that I was reflecting on. It's one of the reasons why I didn't really post any videos or really communicate, even though I really do enjoy talking about these things, because I thought that I could be seen as condescending, or any of those values and beliefs that I have, which aren't helpful. But I believe that this could be helpful to someone out there, because it's valuable to me. It's meaningful to me. So I'm grateful that I can share my experiences. I am grateful that I am able to have a platform. And if this benefits one person, that's amazing. And still, if this doesn't benefit anyone, this is something for me to grow and to come back to, and to see parts of my journey and where I'm at. Like I was saying, kind of kind of an online journal kind of thing. And whatever comes of this video, it will serve me or it will serve somebody out there. And if it does that, that's amazing. That is amazing, because the healing journey isn't easy, and people need resources. People need that understanding. And from my point of view, I was very much somebody that could rationalize things, and that thinking and holding those thoughts and those rationalities in my mind and connecting them to my heart space and my experience and my feelings, that's really where the true healing is. So if I can give you that mental concept, that idea, or ways to apply it in your life, and it works for you, then that's amazing, and healing isn't a one size fits all kind of thing. It could be like Cinderella's shoe. It's only for certain size feet. This might not work for you, and the same way it might. So it doesn't hurt to try. I went into a full, not rant. I was going to say rant, but I went into a full explanation of my counseling experience. But I think that would dilute this video too much. So I might make a future video on my counseling experience and why it's so valuable, and a resource maybe to keep online for other people that are interested in being clients and going to counseling, because there are so many different types and modalities, and they serve you, or at least they served me, in different parts of my life differently. So yeah, that's a video I will be making in the future, as an online resource. And it's also good to refresh my training in other areas that I'm either not too comfortable in, or in areas that I'm not too aware of, because I feel like I found my niche, even though it is integrative. There are bits and pieces that I take and apply to my own counseling strategies as a counselor. And it will be good to reinforce that knowledge for me as well, and to be able to share it with you guys. And I'm pretty sure there are resources out there that already do that. But I would be involving my experience in it as well. And hopefully my experience can help you relate to it. Yeah, because everybody goes, not everybody goes to counseling. I believe everybody should if they're ready. But that's a video for another day. Again, thank you very much for listening. If you've gotten to the end, I'm really grateful for your time. I'm really grateful for the effort you've put into understanding and to viewing this video. And if you don't understand it, that's okay. It's a part of the healing journey, of the healing process. You can always come back to it in future for reference to see either how much you've grown or if you can understand it then. But because I'm rationalizing everything and trying to explain it from my frame of reference, hopefully it can be understood. So again, thank you. And I hope you have an amazing day, night, evening, and that this video serves some purpose. I'm grateful to that as well. Thank you.